And we're live. Sorry, guys, that took a while.
Okay, I'm gonna pop out the chat real quick. Okay,
Let us
so
know if you guys do any like live shows and how you guys do it because we've been having issues with our links working.
just recently, ever since they did the new beta programming on YouTube, it's been wonky.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to start off with what you think about it?
Yeah. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Go for it.
Okay. Oh, by the way, we're doing a live show for Aurora Rising. There will be spoilers. So just, per usual.
Yes.
I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really liked it.
Same, me too. I really, really enjoyed it. I do agree with you that I think that I liked Illuminate better,
Yes.
but I really enjoyed it.
Yes. I think the problem is that the Illuminate files is just so unique and there's really nothing like it that they kind of started with such an amazing series that I don't think anything will be able to top it, you know? It's like kind of like the top of what you can produce.
And it's so hard to make sci-fi books without having similar tropes that one is so unique. And they did something so different with it that it's hard to be on that same caliber as anything else.
Yeah, I agree. Did you?
Hi, Haley.
Hey. Oh, I'm having issues with my chat. There we go. Okay. There's a car show in my town, so the traffic is horrible. That's all right.
Good to know, though.
Be safe. Be safe.
So before this live show, I was like, what am I going to talk about? Because I enjoyed it so much. And I was like, it's kind of hard to be like, it was great. Now what? I watched a 40-minute rant on why Aurora Rising sucked. And I have now a lot of thoughts.
Oh my God. Whose was it?
I don't remember. I've never seen her videos before, but like that was the main point of her channel, it looked like, was most of them were rant videos on popular books. So maybe that's just the types of videos she makes. But I have a lot of thoughts that I disagreed with.
Okay. Awesome. So you can start us off then, because honestly, I'm not very like you said, it's hard when you love a book because you don't have there's not as much to rant about.
Yeah, or like digest and need to talk about. So I wanted to say like characters. So what, like, I really liked the characters. Who was your favorite character?
I liked Tyler a lot.
My favorite was Scarlett. I loved her sass and wit and like how cheeky she was. Like I really liked her for like she stole the show for me.
That's true. I forgot about Scarlett.
Yes.
Who
was your least favorite?
What?
Who was your least favorite?
Zila, but we don't get much of her. That's the problem. Yes. I feel like she's going to be a bigger character in the later on.
Yes, I put that too, is that I was missing development from that character, and I can tell that they're building it up to be something. She did have a few quippy one-liners, but that was about as much as we got with her.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed her. Like, I liked the whole dynamics.
Wait, I know who my favorite character is. Cal. No, not Cal.
Really?
Who's the the tech, the smartass tech? Not Cal.
I
What's
know who
his
you're talking
name?
about. I kept forgetting his name too.
Oh my gosh. Obviously, like it wasn't that. He called him Finian.
Yes, yes.
Yes, he what does he call him? Golden Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, no, I think he referred like Finian calls Tyler Golden Boy.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I loved Finian. I loved his sass and his sarcasm.
I really liked him too. But I still think Scarlett's my favorite.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I completely forgot about Scarlet, but I liked them all. I felt like Ori's character was a bit underwhelming. Zila, I feel like we didn't get enough of. I think she's going to be kind of more important later on. And I enjoyed Cal's character. Once again, I feel like he's going to be more important later on as well. But I felt Tyler was a really good, strong character. Finian was a good, strong character, and Scarlet as well. Kat, I am like in the middle.
Same. I kind of feel that way about Finian. I liked his one-liners, but I kind of lost him in the mix of the other strong characters. Like he wasn't as strong a character for me. I liked his personality, but he wasn't as memorable for me because he was just kind of like the second in command. So he
Correct.
was easier to fade into the background for me. But I
Yeah,
still enjoyed his parts.
I agree. And like apparently I forgot his name, so
um,
but I agree. I think Scarlet now that we're talking about it, I think Scarlet's probably the best one.
yes. So I talked about like did each person feel different enough? And I think for the most part they did for me.
Oh yeah. I think that they did a really good job of like giving each character their own unique personality.
Yeah. And each like their strengths and they didn't get like a full complete background, but I think it was what we needed. This was an adventure story. It was more plot driven, I think, than character driven.
Agreed.
So I think because of that, we got enough to get expanded on the characters to get to know them, but not enough to fully understand them. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's because we have it in a series. We don't need to know everything about them right away.
Right.
We just have snippets.
And that's what like I have to remind myself too. Like if this was a standalone, then yes, I'd have a lot of issues. But knowing that it's a series and that the world needs you can't develop a world in one book. You
Yeah.
can't grow all your characters in one book. You know, it's like if you're going to be doing a series. So I'm more laxed like when it comes to certain characters. I think that because they did so well with the Illuminae files, I have faith. Like I think they're going to do so well with this series that I think they're doing it on purpose. Like Zila's 2-line chapters, I think is like it's strategic. Like they have a reason to do it.
Yes. It's not just like poor writing.
Exactly. Exactly. Because we know
Yeah.
that they can produce fantastic works.
Yeah. So, in the rant review that I read, so I'm just gonna like go off of a lot of things that she said because I really enjoyed it. So I want to use those as talking points. So
Yeah.
in the rant review, she talked about the tagline, which I will agree with her at this point. The tagline does say like they said these aren't the heroes we wanted, they're just the ones we got. So it kind of sets it up to be that they are the misfits, the unchosen ones, the like odd ends that no one wanted, and everything else like with that doesn't quite match up because they're all good at their job. I wanted to see them struggle a little bit, and
Mhm.
and Trevor argued with me at this point that he said that they're social outcasts, not outcasts of the academy. They're not subpar um like abilities, but it's just social outcasts, which I can kind of see. And then obviously it ties in with that Scarlett and Kat chose to deny other offers. They talked about that so they could stay with Tyler. So
Mm-hmm.
like half of the cast is like really, really good. And then the other ones are kind of more outcasts. So it talked about kind of the misleading tagline there, which I can understand people thinking that. But I think there's explanations for that.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because I kind of had that same thought like a little bit. It crossed my mind because when you read the synopsis, like you said, it's like a band of misfits no one wants there. And then when we were introduced to Scarlet and Cat, I was like, wait a second, I thought nobody wanted them. Like they chose to stay. So I was like a little confused on that, but I do agree with Trevor with like social outcasts because a lot of times the like I mean especially in high school, like the kids that are less popular, like you said, socially, like no one wants to really hang out with them, tend to be the ones that are really really smart and just kind of stick to themselves,
Yes.
so I think it's fine. And like because it's explained as to why. Like Finian set fire to things. And then Cal obviously is a different species and they're having a war with them. So that is different as well. Kat is just like her attitude. I could see why a lot of people don't want to work with her because she kind of does have a really poor attitude.
But Kat and Scarlett are the ones that everybody wanted, but they chose to stay.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I must have missed that point that everyone wanted them.
Yeah, because Kat is she's the pilot, so her nickname is
Right.
Zero because she missed 0 targets when she was in practice, so she was like top of the top.
That's right. You're right. You're right.
But Zella has like social, like she's a social outcast, so she's not very social, hence why she's so quiet.
Yeah.
Like we don't get much of her, so that's all explained as well. And then Cal being the different species. That was another complaint of hers is the maturity levels of the cadets. And I thought this was kind of amusing that she said like the maturity level should be higher when they're supposed to be in that 16, 17 age range. Like you're not mature at that age range. Like we think of it as they're going to war, but this is their everyday life. So it's like this isn't something special to them. This is what they've been dealing with their whole life. It's not something new and scary. It's they've been training for this, so it's not something they need to take super seriously. And that was one of her gripes, was that they were not taking it serious in a serious matter. I'm like, but they were prepared for this. Like they knew for how they were training. They knew what they were getting into. So they were able to make those immature jokes, which I'm not like a fan of, like necessarily the immature like sex jokes that they make or whatever. But
I thought they were hilarious.
But it made sense to the story. Yeah. Like it makes sense for their maturity level. So it's like not just because it's not my sense of humor, totally makes sense for their maturity level. And it would, it makes sense for the story. Oh, so I thought that was funny.
No, I thought it was hilarious. I loved their jokes and their sass. Like everyone, honest, maybe I'm just immature in that way, but like who doesn't like a good, like body part size joke?
Well, and I feel like it was just like you needed that like upbeat lightheartedness in the seriousness to balance it out too. So yeah.
So
it didn't bother me.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I'm rereading the synopsis right now, and all it says is that they're the dregs nobody else in the academy wants. So that doesn't really mean anything. It's just saying no one wants them. And then it says that, so Tyler's squad of losers, disciplined cases, and misfits. So it doesn't necessarily say anything that like they're bad at their job or like he's stuck with like the bottom of the class. It just says discipline cases, misfits, and
yeah,
just I mean, think of like the Breakfast Club.
Yeah,
like 3 of them were very like
top of their game.
Have you ever seen the Breakfast Club?
I love the Breakfast Club.
Yeah. So we've got the princess and
Jock.
The guy who's like super super smart, and
Mhm.
you could call them a group of misfits, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad and that they're stupid.
Yeah, they have poor abilities.
Exactly. So I agree with you, Hannah. I think that I don't necessarily think the tagline was that bad at all. But when you think about it, on the back of it, it's the alpha, the diplomat, the scientist, the gearhead, the warrior, the pilot, and the mystery girl. Like I never I never once read this thinking that they were gonna like completely suck.
I was, I will say, I was hoping for a little bit more struggle. So
Maybe.
another good point was that this brand new squad that they've been thrown together, and like this is where your kind of your suspension of disbelief has to be thrown into the air with, is that maybe they've had training exercises where they've had to work together. They already know these people. They've gone through academies. Maybe that's why they all got along so well. But I
Mm-hmm.
was hoping for a little bit more of a clash of these super green, brand new people who have never worked as a team before, has never been on a squad before, can pull off these things without more conflict. I wanted to see that struggle a little bit more with personalities.
Right. Well, I agree, but three of them already know each other.
Sure.
And then Scarlett already knew Cal because she introduced Cal to Tyler.
Okay.
And then Ori is kind of new and she's kind of bland and just
She is.
there.
Yeah.
I have a feeling like her character is going to grow, but she didn't do much. And she
Yeah.
said that, you know, so I didn't put too much faith in her. Like, I wasn't worried about her causing any chaos because, once again, she's the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
So it's basically, I guess, between Cal and Finian. But Cal and Tyler get into it a couple times. Don't they fight like at least 2 or 3 times
A
in the
little
book?
bit. We get to see a little bit, but it's not during the missions. It's always the off parts. You
That's
know what I
true.
mean? So I was hoping that, like, in those high intense situations, they would clash a little bit more, and we'd see them stumble, so we could see them grow as a team versus just on a personality level. I was
Interesting.
hoping we'd get a little bit more conflict.
Okay, I could see that. I could see that because they did. I mean, they kind of came like every conflict that they were introduced to, they kind of came on top.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping maybe they'd fail a little more. Well,
Yeah.
actually, they did fail towards the end.
So, what did you think about the whole Aurora having powers thing?
I mean, it's a science fiction book. I don't care. Like, I kind of like it. There's magic, so it's like, it's gonna get introduced. It's gonna be, I, I feel like I don't have much to say on it because
Were you
it's gonna,
expecting it?
no, it's gonna
Okay.
be explained though later on.
Yeah.
And like it kind of does. Like the void, it's the void, right? Is it the void?
Yeah.
I mean, they tell us that like the void can do stuff to you. So it's like semi explained, but I
Do you
think
think it'll last? Do you think this is a permanent change in her existence, or do you think?
I don't know. I'm wondering if it's going to be like a cliche ending where like the heroine loses her powers.
Right. That is a trope that could happen. So is her powers from the void, or her powers from the strain that they put into the humans to be able to control the whole like plant thing happening on the other planet?
I have no idea.
I thought it was part of like the part of her powers to help cure the whole plant thing, because she is the key to fixing everything. So
Yeah.
I thought that part was all like tied into it, but maybe it is part of the void.
So maybe it's a combination of both. So
Yeah.
like she didn't start with powers, like they like injected her, right? Or like
Yeah.
yeah, and then she was in the void for so long. So they did like a Captain America thing to her. Um,
Yeah.
which I mean, once again, that doesn't bother me. I like fiction books. I don't care if there's magic thrown in, and powers and like supernatural elements. That stuff doesn't bother me because I love those aspects in books.
Yeah. And I think with that, like, it kind of was needed because if we didn't have something to balance out Ori, she would just be the damsel in distress, especially
Agreed.
because of all of these people being trained for so long and she wasn't, that we needed that balance with that to help her be on the same level as the rest of the team.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It didn't, I mean, so I guess what's your answer to your question? You agree, or you think you liked it?
I thought it was a little out of nowhere, but I liked that we got it balanced.
Yeah.
I think we could have also done without the magic element of it, of being able to like toss things across the room or whatever.
She's
And
telekinetic.
yeah, that we could have like done without that and had her been like taken training lessons, kind of like how Hannah was balanced in Gemina, how she
Yeah.
had that fighting training, so she was like ready to jump in. So like just she definitely needed something to put her on that same level. It doesn't really bother me that it was magic, but I think it could have been other elements as well, as long as she is balanced. I didn't want her just to be a damsel in distress.
And yeah, and just be like boring.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
always being the thing that they have to like worry about.
Yeah. So I have a feeling one of the rants was the insta love between Cal and Ori. I actually have a thought on this. So when insta love, when it is explained, even if it's stupid, if there's an explanation, I can get behind it. In contemporary, where there's no magic involved, it's everyday life, I just can't get behind insta love. But
Okay.
Cal goes on to explain like the world of the universe, and like I think he dives into like a little bit of physics and chemistry, and he explains that like pool to somebody. Kind of like how Twilight did it with like
Yep.
imprinting, but I feel like this was done better. So I
Okay.
can get behind it. And I love Ori's reaction where she's like, I can't understand, because she's human. She's like, I can't understand what you're feeling, but you should give me the chance to maybe get there.
I liked that that was her response. I really
Yeah.
appreciated that.
So I can totally get behind the whole like whatever it was that they had, imprinting, pool, gravity, whatever, because I think it was explained. And I can get
Okay.
behind it. They kind of use science to explain it. So I'm okay with it 100%.
So do you like Cal and Ori together?
I do. I love it.
I do not.
No! I
I
think it's
don't.
way better than Cal. So when I first read this, sorry, I'm talking very
No,
loud.
go for it.
When I first read, like when I read the synopsis, I assumed it was going to be Ori and Tyler. I was like, oh my God, she's like talking about like how hot he is. And he's like, Mr. Hot Captain. And she's like, he does not wearing shirt. And then, oh, she realizes he's not wearing pants and she's
Yeah.
flustered. I was like, this is so cliche. And it actually ended up not being Tyler and Ori, and instead Ori and Cal, and I actually love it, especially since Cal is like a warrior and he's a fighter, and she is, like we said, the damsel in distress, and I'm like, this is great. I wasn't really expecting it.
So I normally love that trope. It's like the same thing with Azrael and Akamath. Like I usually love those like quiet warrior types falling for that type of girl. I do not like it in this sense. And I think
No.
I just don't, I want to like Cal, and everything that is built up that I should like Cal, because I have like a very soft spot for like the Spock characters. So like
Yeah.
the more analytical and um like that type of characters I usually fall in love with. Like I have a huge thing for Spock. So like
Oh, I love Spock. He's my favorite
I
character in Star Trek.
I want to love Cal so much, but he just kind of fell flat for me.
I could see
So
that.
when the insta love happened with a character that fell kind of flat for me, like I didn't know, like with okay, for instance, with Spock, like we get to see his grapple with being analytical and being that way, but also dealing with his human half, and we get to see like, you know, like that, we get to see him fleshed out more.
Yes.
With Cal, we don't really see that. We've heard about like his people, but we don't hear about him. So I don't have enough backstory on him, or like I need more information to be able to love Cal as much as I think I would.
Right. And I agree. Cal is lacking a little bit of character development, but once again, he could get developed. It's
Yes.
kind of like bringing in Akamath or Akawar. Oh my God. How am I Riz? Hello.
Yes.
In Akawar or Akatar, the first one, he's, you know, like we don't really get much of him, and then he really gets like character. So yeah. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with like this kind of building as a like relationship. Like so, I said, he wasn't my favorite character. And I'm not like completely in love with him, like you said, but I can get behind the relationship. And I think that if it's developed well, I think it's something that I can totally get behind.
So I wish we would have just gotten it to wait a little bit. I think because we don't have a very developed character and then the insta-love on top of it, even though you explaining it, like saying that it was explained, does help me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make it so insta-love. It's still, with those two combined, I'm just like, no, because I don't feel chemistry between those two characters. It just kind of came out.
Because it's one-sided.
What?
It's one-sided. It's kind of unrequited, which is kind of interesting. We don't see that a lot. Usually when it's insta-love, you see it on both parties. And with him, it's just him, you know? And even in like Twilight, when like the wolves imprint, they automatically, for some reason, the women swoon for the guys as well, you know? Like it's weird how like, I don't know if it's explained very well as in Twilight, but like when one imprints, it doesn't talk about the second party. Like, do they imprint back, or do they have insta-love back? Do they feel a connection back? Like, how does that work? It's just like, oh, I imprinted on her, and then they get married. Like, it never actually like talks about, well, what if one of them doesn't want, you know, like you imprint on someone and it's not what they want.
So I think like in that same sense with like using the imprinting from Twilight, with Jacob, the reason why it worked with Jacob is because he is a very emotional character. So we get to feel that wanting, we get to feel that pull. With Cal, because he is so analytical and not emotional, we don't get to feel those feelings. So it's hard for me to ship those two together, because it's just like, I love this person. Like, we don't get to feel like that, the pull that he feels. All he feels is that protection. And it doesn't feel like a romantic pull type of thing. And that, I think, is what is missing from it, is like that human element to it. Yeah. So I think that Tyler and Ori have better chemistry, because we got to see it build from the very beginning of like him staying with her and missing meetings to make sure she was okay. And like, we got to see him being emotionally invested in her.
Okay.
So I think they have way more chemistry and way more likability than those two. I think if we would have waited for the love interest, and we would have seen Cal have a little bit of humility and stumble and being embarrassed because he has these feelings, and like have that human element to it a little bit, and see that grow, and then have the love interest come out later, then I think I would have been way more on board. Yeah. But just from interactions in this book, I think I ship Tyler and Ori.
But you know, they explain that like their custom to touch is very it's not something they do.
I know, but still, it's not enough for me.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. But see, I also really like when romances are like, it's something that comes unexpectedly. Unless it was kind of like everyone called it. I didn't call it. But I think it's nice when like you can read a synopsis and not be like, oh, these two are gonna fall, you know, like.
Yeah.
it's nice to like be surprised a little bit and not get like the whole story from the synopsis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what did you think of Tyler and Kat?
It's so sad.
Do you ship Tyler and Kat then?
Um, yes and no. Like I didn't, but then at the end, I was like, oh, I didn't think I was gonna get so emotional with the ending. I didn't think it was gonna hit me so hard.
I do not ship Tyler and Kat.
No.
Obviously, because I ship Tyler and Ori, but
Yeah.
that just felt misplaced to me. Like
Yeah.
I would have like loved it if Kat was in love with Scarlet and Scarlet was the one out flirting with everybody and she had to watch her like best friend dealing with all this shit. Like that would have been great.
Yes, that would have been good.
Because Tyler and Kat, it just kind of came out of nowhere and she was just like this jealous ex for no reason.
Yeah.
And I just felt she was so bitter through the whole book that I was just like, oh, like I liked Kat when she was not talking about Tyler. But
Yeah.
when she started talking about Tyler, I was over it. And I was like, girl, what's with you?
Yeah. 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 I maybe I don't ship them together, but I'm really sad that like Kat died. I hope she comes back.
I totally don't think she's gone. Do you think she's gone?
Mm-mm.
No, I think she'll find a way to like fight back.
If her dad is still alive after 200 years,
Right?
so
So I definitely shipped Scarlet and Kat.
I mean, who
Scarlet
knows?
and Kat and Tyler and Ari.
Well, we might end up liking Cal more.
Yeah. For right now, though.
Yeah. 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 No, I just, like I said, have you read Heart of Iron yet?
No.
There is two romances in that book that is very surprising. Like when you read the synopsis, you don't think that these four characters, like these two couples, get together, and I really liked it. It was very pleasantly like I didn't see it coming.
Okay.
And I really liked it. And that kind of reminded me a little bit of Aurora Rising, reminded me a little bit of Heart of Iron, a little, with like that. Just like they set it up to where Tyler and Ori are gonna be like maybe love interests. And then it's like, oh, wait a second. Nope, let's introduce a different character. And I think you're right. Maybe if we had gotten a little bit more development from Cal in this book, we would be enjoying it more, but maybe they're doing it on purpose. Like maybe they're not really wanting us to ship it, and then they're going to develop his character more, and then we're going to like start to grow to really like the relationship, you know?
I think they could still do that. I wish it would just be like Cal being like, hey, you don't have to have these feelings for me. And she's like, hey, like I could totally have feelings for you. Like, just give me a chance. But she's like, if I wanted it. But I don't want her to want it yet. I think it was too easy for them to fall in. And I like, I don't know. I needed, there needs to be a slower burn than this. And there was
Well,
not.
I mean, she's not into it. She just said, yeah, she just said, let me make my own decision.
Well, she's like, did you ever think I could be into it? Like, and he's like, no. But I feel like now they're together. Like after that point, they were like together in the book, and I'm like, no. Like I want it to like her to see. I mean, she just got out of cryogenics for 200 years. Now she already has a boyfriend. Like, come on.
I guess you're right. I guess they did start holding hands.
Yeah, so I needed like a longer burn with that, and I needed them to like.
Fair enough. So if she had then like let me make the decision for myself, but then like no touching, like no holding hands, just like
I would have loved to have been like, hey, like just because I don't feel the same way about you now doesn't mean I can't ever. And like I need to process what I've been through right now.
mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that I can't ever feel that way about you. And then after that point, like we get to see if we would have gotten to see Ari develop and process what she's been through while Cal is pining after her and then have that relationship progress, I think it would have been way better versus now we're together.
I got it. Okay. So it kind of did that because that's exactly what she did. Like she said, because he said that he would leave. And then she was like, you should let me make my own decisions. But then they basically got together, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
So
But I don't think it's a terrible plot line.
no, I don't think it's a bad plot line. I just don't particularly. It's not my favorite. Like I don't
No.
know.
Right.
It's still a bit too quick for me.
I agree.
I don't want to say it's insta love because you do make a good point. It does make sense, but
Yeah.
it's a
And
bit too quick.
it's not necessarily insta love because it's unrequited. Like she doesn't love him and she's like, well, let's see how this goes. Like maybe I can give it a shot.
But I just never like we didn't ever see her be interested. Like we saw her immediate interest in Tyler. We
Yeah.
never saw her interest in Cal. So it's like this poor guy is saying I'm in love with you and she's like, okay, great, like I like to be liked. Like she never showed any interest in Cal until he was interested in her, and then she was like, great, I want some love. Like
Yeah.
that was the only reason why she chose. There's no connection there, there's no pull from her
Well,
side. She just like, let's try.
she saw him in his dreams. In her dreams.
Yeah, but that's not like she wasn't
It wasn't
interested.
romantic.
That, and it's like that came after she or he like admitted her feelings. So it's like, did she just become to be with him because she wants to be wanted type of thing?
Interesting. I don't know. We'll find out because that happened at the very end.
Yeah.
Are you going to
I don't
continue?
I don't trust Ori's intentions. I think it's not gonna be well. Um
Oh.
so would you have followed Aurora or taken her back when she was like, no, we need to follow this thing at the beginning?
Um,
For me, I was like, y'all are crazy. You don't even know this girl, and you're just gonna risk your lives for this. Like, you don't. It's like, I get it. It makes sense because
they kind of didn't have a
Tyler's all
choice.
on like faith and like trusting in the faith and doing it. But I'm like, you have no reason to trust this person and all. And you're like, let's do it. Like, forget everything that we've now committed to being to our station. We're gonna go follow this rogue idea. And I'm like, what? Like, why was there? I mean, there was a little pushback, but not enough to justify. Like, I felt like they all were like, should have, like, we need to all have a vote type of thing.
Yeah. Oh, Haley, I was too. I cried at the end. It made me so emotional. Um, so I feel like they kind of didn't really have a choice because the events of that was right after. So basically, they went on this mission to like go to what's Cal's people, them,
Mm-hmm.
and they were told to like help them, and then all of a sudden they got attacked by the GI or GA or whatever. And
Yeah.
it was kind of like they didn't have a choice. They were like basically thrown into this situation where they had to pretty much become, I guess, traitors. And it was like, or I don't know. I don't really think they had a choice because honestly, I think that if they had gone back to the academy, I think they would have I think they would have been killed.
Well, I think, like, so, like, at that point where they have that pinnacle moment of being like, do we follow her and listen to her or do we go back? And then he says, let's go back. And they're going to, and then she changes, like, freaks out and does her power thing and changes coordinates. And then they're like, okay, I guess we're gonna. And at that point, I would have been like, bitch is crazy. We are like throwing her out the air chute at this point. Like, I would not trust her.
Yeah, that is actually true. Okay, I completely forgot that happened, that they didn't, and then all of that happened. Um,
So be like, this bitch is trying to kill me. Like, no.
I know, I know, I know. And she's like totally out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wish we would have gotten more pushback besides Scarlet and Kat, because those are the only two that really stood up to him, being like, what? Why are we doing this? Why
Yeah.
are we trusting this random person?
I
And like
will
the guys are just like cool with it.
Yeah, I will say that like Kat, Scarlet, and Ori, they kind of became friends really quick.
Well, Scarlet and Kat were already friends
No, I meant like with Ori.
with Ori.
Like Kat
Yeah.
all of a sudden was like hated her, and then at the very end when she's dying, they had like a moment.
Well, they kind of had to because they were like sharing a space.
That's
Like
true. That's very
they were
true.
feeling in their head.
And then Scarlet kind of like you said, if someone's trying to kill me, I'd be like,
You gotta go.
yeah, exactly. Like, why? Like, Scarlet really kind of became her friend afterwards, and I would have been like, the hell? Stay away from me.
Yeah, right? At that point, I think like I would have put them all like the person who freaked out and showed powers like that. Like I would have been like, okay, you're going in like the containment chamber or something. Like you're going into space jail for right now until we figure out what the hell's going on with you.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
you lost all trust there.
For sure. I think it would have been really interesting to see like Ori's perspective when she's having like a blackout moment or something. It would have been really interesting. I would have liked to have seen that.
Well, I think because she doesn't know what happens, so she
Right. So it would have been really cool to have like seen I
like
don't
the
know.
after. Well, we kind of do get to see the aftermath because we get to see her watch her video of her like throwing shit around, and she's like, "What?"
Yeah, that is true. That is very true.
So you want to talk about the ending now?
It was that next on the rant.
Well, just that capping infected. So
Yeah.
capping infected, and like, were you expecting this?
No.
I wasn't expecting Kat to be infected either, and the whole like mingling with their minds thing, I thought that was a cool twist. I wasn't expecting that. I thought that was something different.
That was really cool as well. What was the
What
rant
did you?
on that? She didn't like that?
Well, she more so thought it was really convenient about Kat holding everybody off. Like there's so many minds being sucked in, and then all of a sudden she was the one that could hold it off to save her teammates. Like that she has that much power. And
Hmm.
I was like, okay, it was a little convenient that she was able to like hold off all of these people who have been dealing with this for how many years, and she's the one that can like survive through it to hold off.
Well, no, what's her name Ori was helping her. It was both of them.
Oh, and that's why they had
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
power. Okay, that makes way more.
And it's already established that Ori's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and she has that strain that makes her different that was implanted to be able to fight it off. So that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Exactly. So I I don't think it was that convenient. I think it was a nice like bow.
Yeah. So do
But
you think that Kat will be able to fight off the rest of them when she's not commingling with Ari?
I think that I'm hoping that maybe like their next um I guess mission would be
Mm-hmm.
to like find an antidote.
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally going to be to save Kat. That's going to
Yeah.
be the next premise, I think.
Yeah. I think it would be to find an antidote, which I think is yeah. So I'm thinking that'll be a really good plot point for that.
You don't think that that'll take more than 2 books? I think the next book is going to be to get Kat out of that hive mind and then use the information she took from being in the hive mind to be able to shut the whole thing down, and that'll be the third book.
Oh, it's only 3 books?
I don't know, but I'm guessing usually it comes in trilogies. I don't know how many books there are.
Yeah. Huh. I'm
But
curious.
usually that's like how it goes. It's like a small mission, big mission, small mission. So
That's true. But granted, this is a pretty big, I mean, well, it's like almost 500 pages. But Illuminae was like big mission, big mission, big mission.
yeah, but it was like
But it was very different.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, did you like this better than Skyward?
Here's okay. The overall premise, I think Yes. I think I liked the characters a bit more in Skyward. I like the development in the characters more, and I liked the humor in Skyward more.
Hmm.
But I liked the overall book better than Skyward
Okay.
because I felt like that one is more character based story. This is more plot based. This is more of a heisty type of book,
Yeah.
versus the other one is definitely character based. So I
Hmm.
think it's kind of hard to like. They both have different strengths,
Yeah. Okay.
and I just liked the humor better. Like it was more. The characters were so much stronger, so the humor landed better. Versus this had a lot of good one-liners, but it wasn't like, oh, this type of person would of course say this type of thing because we didn't know that much more about the characters. I think it will develop into something better than Skyward, though.
Okay. I'm hoping.
I'm interested to see where Skyward's going to go with it too, like which overall series I'm going to like better once
Yeah.
everything is developed in both spots.
Yeah. I actually like this way better than Skyward. I felt like the plot was better executed.
Yes, I agree with that.
I do think.
This is more tropey though, I think, than Skyward. Because like we get the heist thing that's very Six of Crows. We get the like classic ballroom scene that like that's where the heist is going down and like
Yeah, that is true.
and, like it's very tropey, but not in a bad way.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think.
Versus
Yeah.
versus Skyward, I think is a little bit more unique in the world building and
Yeah.
um,
Well,
it's
no,
not.
I thought that like the whole idea of like the fold and being able to like jump in time, I thought that was very interesting.
It is, but it's done a lot.
Is it?
Yeah, in sci-fi, but well, it just in like Star Trek and Star Wars, and there's always that time like traveling in light speed. Like that's basically what it is. It's
That's
like
true.
so
That
it's done a lot.
that is true. That is true. Um, I like the diversity in this one
Yeah,
compared to Skyward. I also just liked how it was so action packed. Like we start the book and the main character's already in peril, and we're just like,
yeah,
yeah, it just
yeah.
starts.
It definitely kicks off with a bang.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I guess Skyward kind of does too, because like the colony gets under attacked, but I don't know. I
This one
Skyward
grabs
was
you
just
more.
like, I'm sorry?
This one grabs you more.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought Skyward was just a little more boring.
I think it's just because we didn't the action wasn't spread out evenly in Skyward versus this. And Sanderson is kind of known for his big endings. So I think that's his writing style. So if you don't like that, you're not gonna like it type of thing. Like that's just his writing style is he does really, really awesome endings because he saves everything for the end. Versus um Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman do it very intermittently, so it happens very evenly throughout the
Yeah,
whole thing.
I agree. I agree. Although Obsidio, I think, was pretty good.
Oh yeah. What about Aurora's dad?
I didn't see that coming. I was
I am
so
not
shocked.
surprised. I'm not surprised, but I didn't see it coming.
Oh my God, I assumed they were all dead.
Really, as much as they were like droning on about her family and never get like and like her last words to her dad and like they just kept focusing on it too much that I was like someone's got to be alive still. Something's happened. Cuz they can't just like leave everything in the past and it be done.
Well, I didn't think that he was the main guy after them.
That's the part that was like I wasn't expecting it, but it makes sense. But I knew that there had to be some ties to her past because that was the root of her character arc. So I knew that there had to be something from her past still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're focusing on it too much not to be.
Yeah. I guess you're right. I guess it was kind of obvious that her dad was still alive, but I was not expecting him to be like that princess guy.
Yeah.
Paul. And yeah, that I thought was a huge twist. And then I wasn't expecting like the whole plant thing. And then
Yeah, that was weird.
yeah. And then like the monkey attack.
Mm-hmm.
I just it's kind of ironic that they're like talking about monkeys and then all of a sudden they get attacked by like a huge like psycho monkey. Um Overall I really enjoyed it. I mean, I listened to the audiobook in one day.
Yeah, it's very easy to binge.
Yeah. By the way, did you read any of it or did you listen to the audiobook?
I only listened to it, to be honest.
Okay. So maybe because we listened to the audiobook and it was a whole cast of characters, each character felt different because the accents were so different and it gives them a sense of like uniqueness. Like
Mm-hmm.
Kat was Australian, it sounded
Yep.
like, and then everyone was just so different. Like all of their voices were so different. And Ori's, though, her voice was just meh.
Yeah.
She was kind of like squeaky, mousy. But maybe if we had read it, it would have felt like every character seemed the same. But because we didn't, automatically I already have a sense of each character is different.
Well, the person's review that I was watching, she she definitely listened to the audiobook because she had
Oh,
talked about how she was one of the characters was Australian, and she
okay.
was complaining that she was Australian, and so I was like,
Why?
"Yo, you definitely look." She's like, "They're not from Earth, so how is she Australian?" And it said that Tyler and Kat grew up together, so why doesn't Tyler have an Australian accent? But I'm like, that could have easily been explained because her parents could have done like. There's things that it could be explained away why
Yeah.
one person would have an accent and the other wouldn't. So
Yeah.
even if they grew up together,
Yeah, because you develop your verbal skills when you're like 2 or 3.
yeah,
Like the bulk of like learning to speak is usually before when did they meet? In like second grade?
I'm
First
not sure when
grade?
they met, but
They
yeah, it definitely could be explained away.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, like, I don't see why Australia is an issue because, like, having a different accent's a different issue because, like, they had different species
Yeah.
in the academy. So it's not like in, for example, Skyward where there is no Earth, or are they? No, they're not on Earth, but like everyone's from the same area.
Hmm.
I can understand why everyone should have like the same accent, but when you're dealing with multi-species like Star Wars, Star Trek type scenario, it's very easy. Like I feel like that is not something to be a huge like that's not a big issue.
No, but she was saying like that she felt she was so she obviously listened to it and she was saying like that she didn't feel like they were really felt different enough. And so I think like I don't know if that would really change it. I think
Or maybe
that
she's
they
not Australian and just the narrator happened to be Australian. They just like the way
okay.
she narrated it.
Yeah.
Like just like when we do book to movie adaptations and we have actors that have blonde hair instead of brown hair, like maybe just
Yeah.
maybe Kat is she actually doesn't have an accent, but just the narrator happens to have one.
So I wonder in the book if she's written with like written, like how you can read accents. I wonder if it's written like that.
Hmm. I'll have to go back and look. Because I've read books where like the narrator is like English, uh,
Hmm.
and I don't think the book specified whether they were English or not.
Yeah.
And it's like, to me, it's not a big deal.
I agree with that. So overall, I really enjoyed it, and for one of the like my most anticipated books of the year, I was pretty well pleased with it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think I'm happy. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars or like a 4.5. I gave it a 5, but like 4.5, 4.75.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I knew going in that it wasn't going to be the Illuminae files just because, once again, it
It's
was
so
so
unique.
cool and just such a unique book. And it's so hard to top the best.
Yes, I
Um,
agree.
just like Sarah J. Maas, like I think Akamath is my favorite book.
Yep.
And she hasn't topped it yet. It's hard to top the best, you know?
Yeah.
So I think going into it with that mindset, I was happy.
Yeah. So, do you have anything left to say besides what we're reading for next month?
I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I didn't have too much. Oh, wait, did you like the kissing scene between Cal and Tyler?
Oh my God, I thought that was so good.
Okay,
When
I love that.
she was like, I didn't know that you guys blushed with your ears, and I was like, this is so great.
Okay. Is that something like, I guess like to me, like that's not immature. I think that's great.
No, I agree. Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. Oh, I thought there was gonna be more AI.
Yes. But there is a character that is like voice of Aiden that's in this book that it's just disguised differently. I don't remember who it was, but Trevor pointed it out to me, and I could hear it after he pointed it out. So Aiden is in the book. He's just not Aiden. He's he's the
Oh,
I'm pretty sure he's the
he's the iPad,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Magellan.
Magellan, yeah. Which, um, okay. I mean, it didn't like in the synopsis, it doesn't necessarily specify that there's an AI, like in the Illuminate files. So, but I guess I had heard that there was going to be like AI
Still
stuff
AIs.
going on. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I was a tad disappointed. Like I was really excited for Magellan to come in, but I was kind of hoping there was more.
Like a bigger role.
Yeah, and there could be.
Yeah.
But I thought he was really funny. It's like silence, silence mode.
So Haley said I had a hard time getting into it at first, but I think that maybe because I was working so much when I first started it, once I got to the audiobook, I loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah, the audiobook was really good.
I think the audiobook is worth on this one for sure. It's definitely a top.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes by really quickly.
I also thought that Kat was going to defect and turn people in.
Oh my God, me too.
So I was really expecting that, and I was kind of surprised that she didn't. I like that twist that she didn't, though.
I like that twist too because it made it sound like she was betraying them.
Miguel's
And I was like,
ex-girlfriend.
I was so mad. I was so mad. I was like, no, 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 she can't be that petty. She can't, like you said, I'm like, she can't be that upset about the fact that like they slept together and he doesn't want anything more. And now she's just gonna like turn them in. No. And I just loved the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think it was very well done.
So our next book for next month is again The Better by Christine Riccio. So that'll be exciting. And you've already read it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I've got to read it because we're doing it for the Barnes Noble Book Club, which I'm leading for the first YA book club.
Yay.
So I got to get that done. Or the book club's like on the 13th or something. So I've got to read it by then. So
Nice. Yeah, I think I might re-skim it because I read it at the beginning of May. So
cool.
yeah. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything they want to comment on before? I think it's just Haley right now.
I'm really excited for the next one to come out now.
For Aurora Rising?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
For the Aurora cycle.
I'm like on a binge for like science fiction. I kind of want to go get the second book in Heart of Iron.
Is
And
it out?
yeah, it's like bright orange.
Ooh.
It's really nice.
Have you
Oh my
read
God.
Lifelike by Jay Kristoff?
No.
Oh,
Might
because
be-
that I think is an AI. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it that much, but it's lifelike.
Ooh, I like that cover.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Crescent City? Just like really brief.
Do we have to wait until 2020?
Oh my god.
But that cover is stunning.
Oh my god. I don't know. I was like bookgasm, bookgasm.
Yep.
Soul of Stars. It's just as gorgeous.
Ooh, that is pretty.
Yeah. I
Okay.
can't wait to go see it. I want to go read it by Ashley Poston. Yeah, because she wrote didn't she write the
Geekerella.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is going to be it for this live show, and we will see you guys next month. To be determined on the date, right?
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, it's gonna be again but better.
Cool. So we'll see you guys then. Thank you for joining in.
Bye.
Bye.